High praise for an Auburn assistant coach from a coaching legend.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast, bonus edition with my man Ben Taylor from the Auburn Network. We got a lot to talk about today. An Auburn assistant coach got some incredibly high praise from a football coaching legend. We'll dive into that and what that means. A wide receiver nobody's really talking about, but could make just as big as impact as anyone. And then we're going to talk about this Baylor game, an opening game pressure that may be riding on that particular game. We're going to talk about all that in just a second. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to mybookie.ag. Use coupon code BARN, B-A-R-N, for a 50% deposit bonus. Ben, you give them $100. How much you get back?
50%, I think 50.
50. That's how that works. You give them $100, you're going to get 50 back in free play.
Don't ask me about math, and I won't ask you about geography. Okay.
The math. Okay. Good call. The maths. Give them $100. You're going to give you 50 back to play with in free play. You can hit the sports book. You can hit the casino. Do whatever you want. It's easy deposits, easy withdrawals. It's mybookie.ag.
So, Kyle, we talk about high praise from a legend that is, as far as coaching ranks are concerned, about first and foremost, all we've ever talked about, basically defense wise, you and I have been the secondary the entire time. However, something probably going on. Maybe this is what we call the overlooked show, because maybe we're talking about some people that are overlooked. Yeah. And another portion of that is the defensive line. As a coaching legend, Pete Jenkins, all of a sudden started talking about Auburn, and then started talking about the coaching staff. And I will read the quote for you. We're talking about one of the things that really impressive to watch him is they brought in Vontrell King-Williams is the defensive line coach that we're discussing. And one of the things that brought up, here's the quote, Vontrell is really good young football coach, Jenkins said on a Saturday episode of Auburn Undercover Podcast. Watching him a couple of weeks ago, and I told him this, one of the things that's really impressive watching him is that they've all bought in. You can tell how they're looking and at him in the meetings, how they come around during the day, and when they have free time. He's got them. They believe in him, and that is really important and something that you have to start with. So what does that tell you? Does that tell you that they are where they need to be, or at least they're on the right track? What do you take from this?
The biggest thing is just the praise for Vontrell and that he deserves. I mean, you got to really think about the whole storyline of how he got to Auburn and everything. And this is coming from Pete Jenkins, who's, spent a lot of time at LSU. He was at Auburn under Terry Bowden.
Yep.
Just everybody knows this guy as a defensive line guru, and he likes to visit around at different schools. And he was at Auburn. And like I said, he interviewed with Auburn Undercover and just raved on how they bought in, the players are buying into Vontrell. And you got to remember, Vontrell was brought in as an analyst, okay?
Yeah.
He was brought in when they brought him in actually to be a quote-unquote analyst, but it was when they thought the ruling would go through that analysts could also be on-field coaches. So
yeah.
That just happened to be happened 1 year later. It didn't happen right when he's brought in. So keep that in mind. He was actually brought in not to get coffee, not to go get lunch, not to be, in a breakdown film. He was brought in to be an on-the-field coach. And so a lot of people kind of griped and were like, oh, Auburn could have done so much better when Jeremy Garrett left for the NFL.
Yeah.
And Vontrell may be from a whole package standpoint, recruiting, development. I mean, our defensive lines have been pretty nasty since he's been the guy. They were really good last year, and then he's recruited really well.
I was going to say, they kept us in games last year.
Taking guys you go find a guy like Philip Bleedy and make him a really good player with 1 year. I mean, and you recruit really well. I mean, Auburn has Hugh Freeze hit a home run. I know this was his guy. I think he was an analyst at Liberty too, but Auburn really hit a home run and got the value out of, promoting from within. And Vontrell, I think, is just an upcoming star. He had a big recruiting class this last cycle, brought in Malik Autry, Jordan Crawford. He's played a part in Keldrick Faulk's development. Just so many good things, and it's good to hear stuff like this because I feel like he doesn't get the press, or he doesn't get the accolades I feel like that he deserves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they always say the offensive line is like the thankless job. Well, more than likely, his job as of late has been the thankless job because everybody's focused on the DBs. Everybody's focused on the wide receivers. Lord knows we've talked about the quarterback more than anybody could ever talk about a quarterback, but that's been since Hugh Freeze has been at Auburn because of him being the quote-unquote quarterback whisperer. But you're right. The defensive line has been probably the most solid portion of Hugh Freeze's tenure since he's been at Auburn. And it kind of goes untalked about and unnoticed until you see somebody like this, like Jenkins, come in and go, hey, y'all need to wake up. Like, you got somebody that's pretty good. You probably need to love on them a little bit and appreciate what you have, because let's call it what it is, Kyle. I mean, it ain't been the greatest of seasons the last couple of seasons, and the defensive line has kind of helped keep Auburn in it.
For sure. I mean, just look at this list where he's listed either as a primary or secondary recruiter for. You had Jared Smith last year, Malik Autry, we already mentioned, Hezekiah Harris, which is a top recruit in this next upcoming year class, Jordan Crawford from last year, Antonio Coleman, flipping that one from Alabama and then getting it flipped and then flipping it back again, hanging in there with that one. I mean, coaching's one thing. You got to be a dog as well on the trail. And I like that the biggest part of the quote is they're bought in. They believe.
Yeah.
You can sell a lot on the front end, but once they get here, you got to actually put your money where your mouth is. And to see them hear that from that guy, from Pete, saying, hey, you look at them, you can tell they're bought in. You can tell they're locked in with him. They believe in him. And you just checked off all the boxes as a position coach. You literally checked all the boxes of what you're looking for. Auburn is really lucky to have Vontrell King-Williams.
Well, it says a lot too what he said, and I know this line is not going to mean a lot to a lot of people, but when he talks about how they're paying attention in meetings and how they're coming to him, everybody goes, "Well, that's what they're supposed to do." Boy, are you going to be sad to hear that doesn't happen a lot of times at a lot of places. I love him to death. But I tell the story all the time because I had a buddy that worked in the athletic department when Nick Fairley was at Auburn University. And Nick Fairley was a great defensive lineman. They were lucky that he was awake during defensive line meetings. So his talent got him through. And that's why he was a draft pick, and that's why he was successful in the pros whenever he got there. However, Auburn doesn't have that type talent right now. So it takes – it takes a coach like Auburn has in order to keep them bought in, keep them paying attention, and keep their attention in meetings that is going to hopefully lead to success this football season.
Another quote that Jenkins had is said, I've watched him a couple of times. I went into his office. He said his office was just full of kids watching film, asking questions, and just wanting to talk to him. That's what we're talking about. That's Auburn's really blessed. Now you got to hang on to him because when stuff like that gets out, other schools are definitely going to come calling. So,
if the defensive line continues the success this fall and has a good showing, especially in the Southeastern Conference, that phone will ring numerous times. So people better watch out for it. So
got to keep him.
Hey, Kyle, we got to talk about maybe another person that nobody's talking about. As well as we got opening game coming up a lot faster than we probably realized.
For sure. Before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to Rowback.com. Use coupon code BUTTON20 to take 20% off your order. If you love polos,
BUTTON20.
Is that a Rowback you got on right there?
It's not, but I was just pointing to the button.
Okay. They're top button friendly. If you like the top button, They're top button friendly. They got the prints, they got stripes, they got the solids. If you're just a solids guy, I know Ben has no solid color shirts in his closet. He's prints 100% of the way. Hope
this
that
is
never
about
goes
as solid as it gets right here with print on a white shirt.
There you go. Pullovers, quarter zips, shorts, joggers. They got it all. Check them out. It's rowback.com. We'll be back right after this.
All right. So we've talked about something that is not talked about, which is defensive line and the coaching staff that goes with us. But also when we talk about wide receivers, we love to mention Cam Coleman.
Yeah.
Just because he is, as you and I dubbed it, because somebody made fun of me for saying this, he's got the catching radius of one of those old 1980 satellites.
There you go.
And somebody made fun of me for that, but that's fine. I'll take it. And then the other one is Singleton because of his speed, his transfer, coming down. And people have said, hey, that's going to open up the field a little bit just because of the 4.2-ish / 4.3-ish speed, depending on who you're talking to. Still fast, regardless of. Yeah. Somebody said, big difference between 4.2 and 4.3. Not if you're me, because I'm going to be left behind them regardless. It doesn't matter. However, one guy that we're not talking about is Fields. And the reason being is because I think he kind of gets left kind of on the sideline as far as when we start talking. Perry Thompson, another one, a big name we talk about constantly.
Malcolm Simmons.
Oh, my goodness. See,
those are the names.
Those are the names you hear constantly. However, Fields could play an important part of what takes place with this offense.
Yeah. I mean, Hugh Freeze compared him to Keandre Lambert-Smith. He said that could be your Keandre Lambert-Smith of this wide receiving core. And I take away from that as a reliable target. That's probably not a huge home run threat, but a guy that you can throw to when you got to have a big catch, when you need a big possession, a big possession reception, something like that. He's got the big body. And the crazy thing is we're talking about him in that role as like the number 4 receiver. So that's what's crazy. Like we're talking about a guy that could be the Keandre Lambert-Smith, but he's probably going to be, your number 4 guy, like the guy that's you're definitely going to go with Cam as number 1A and Singleton as 1B, and you could argue either way on that one. And then Malcolm's going to get his touches, and then who's it going to be after that? Everybody I think wants it to be Perry Thompson, and but I don't know. Horatio Fields is going to have a lot to say about that. I think he had a really good spring. Hugh loves him. So if he can replicate at least, if he can replicate 50% of what KLS did last year, you're ecstatic. You're ecstatic.
Well, the thing that you get with him, which is kind of odd that we talk about him being like the 4th guy, even possibly the 5th guy, if you want to start talking about athleticism. But we talk about Cam, catch radius. We talk about Singleton. He's just going to get behind people and he's going to be open. You talk about Perry Thompson. Again, he's going to be able to make his way open just because of his big body as a wide receiver going up against a 5'10" DB. It's just going to be unfair. You talk about Simmons, athleticism all over the place. He'll find a way to get open. However, when you talk about somebody like Fields and you compare him to KLS, you're talking about good hands, great routes, very coachable, and somebody that is a go-to. That's very important and a great – if I'm Jackson Arnold, that is a great safety net to have as a 4th guy whenever you need a 7-yard pass, when you need a 12-yard pass, when you need something less than 15 yards to get a first down, that you can be your reliable guy is your 4th guy. Are you kidding me? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. We're wowed by the athletic ability and the athleticism of all the other guys that may be in front of him, arguably. But the veteran, heady, smart, just polished wide receiver, I mean, there may be an argument that Horatio may be the more polished out of all of them. So, and that makes up for, sometimes maybe not being quite as gifted physically as the others. But I mean, I'm not going to knock his physicality or physical abilities that much. I mean, he looks really good. I mean, 6'2"-ish, over 200 pounds. I mean, I don't know what more you can ask for. I don't expect him to have the top end speed as some of the others, but again, we're talking about a wide receiver room that's legitimately four or five deep that you could put out there and not feel any drop off whatsoever. I'm curious to see. We're talking about 4 right now. How many times are they all possibly going to be out on the field at the same time? That's what would be intriguing, because that's not typically a calling card of Hugh or of Auburn, really, of the last several years. But do you get that 10 personnel? One running back and then go throw 4 out there with Cam on one side, with Horatio on the other side, and then you got your 2 speedsters in the slot. I mean, that could be a really, really fun lineup. I'm just so anxious to see how that whole rotation works. And I know the first game is creeping up. It's not that far away.
No, it's not. And I mean, with somebody like Horatio too, with that big body you're talking about, I mean, that's another thing. They can split him out, or they can put him in where a linebacker gets stuck on him. And if that takes place, he's got way more speed than any linebacker is going to have.
Sure.
So that's another thing that can kind of separate him from some of the other guys. You mentioned that first game coming up.
Yeah.
Well, this past weekend, I told you that the original Walker White interview with Locked On Baylor, it was just kind of a get to know you Walker White type deal. And then, of course, the host and a friend of Zach Blackerby, so I'm not going to bash him, but he had to bring up, he said, well, you got that game 1 coming up against Auburn. And he didn't say that he's out to beat Auburn. He said, basically, if I'm playing or if I can help in film or any other facet, we're going to hand Auburn their first loss of the season. That's not calling a win, but it definitely is saying, hey, they're coming here and we're going to put them in their place type deal. Now, that could be a little bit of bitterness with him headed over there, but I do think that that's kind of listen, Baylor's looking at this as like a good start to their program. Auburn needs to look at it as a good start to their season as well, and they need that win over there.
I didn't necessarily see it resurface, but I do remember it, and I don't have any problem with what Walker White said. The only problem I had with what Walker said was something about what did he say? Oh, the plan for development. That Baylor seems to have either a better or a clear plan for development, and whatever. Yeah, that was the only thing I really took issue with. You got to say what you got to say for the new team that you play for. But speaking to the first game and it creeping up, I do think, and Baylor seeing this as a big stepping stone, Auburn better see this as a very, very important game. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure going into it. And look, it is what it is. Last year was not ideal. And if you want to sort of get everybody on board, there's a lot of people that have the whole show me mindset. I'm not buying in. Show me before I buy in. What better way to do it than on a Friday night in prime time and just go in there on a tough road environment. Baylor could be a top 25 ranked team. They're a pretty solid team with a really good quarterback coming back. I'm going to be honest, man. I think there's a lot of pressure on this game. There's a lot riding on those first couple of drives, especially offensively, to show that this system works. Our game planning works. It's not necessarily, it can be successful with all these wide receivers and the quarterback. And hey, look, it's not just us hyping it up. Hugh has had a ton of positive things to say about a lot of this. He's really raved on the wide receiver room. I know he adores that room. He's fired up about that room. He just called Jackson quarterback one. He said he's the quarterback. He's the starter.
Yep.
And it was not he's been pressing. He's making some mistakes. So we're going to go ahead and call him the starter so he can relax. No, he said he's impressed with his leadership, his ability to run, extend plays with his leg. He has the arm talent. He earned, he solidified that he's going to be the starting quarterback. Not we're giving it to him by default just to make him feel better. No, they're convinced that he's the guy. So to me, there's a lot of pressure early to make it happen. And maybe I'm way off, but
no, you're not way off, because this is what Hugh has said. Third year. Like, yeah. And what better way to start it? You said it best just a minute ago. Friday night, prime time. Everybody's going to be watching, even here locally in the Auburn Opelika area, because even Auburn High and Opelika play on Thursday night that week to make room for people to be able to watch in Lee County.
I didn't know that.
On Friday night. So, yeah, there's pressure because they're moving high school games around so people can watch Auburn play on a Friday night.
You better make it happen.
So yeah, Kyle, there's
an outside chance. It may not even really be that outside based off of a lot of the sports writers' preseason polls that has Auburn, a lot of them have Auburn in the top 25. There's a good chance this could be a ranked matchup, like a top 25 ranked matchup. I mean,
if ESPN has anything to do with it, it will be a top 25 ranked.
Yeah, it very well could be. So, I mean, the eyes are going to be on it. I think there's a lot more pressure on this first game than most people are talking about.
I love it. Always good stuff, man.
For sure. Ben, thanks for having me, guys. If you want to support Ben, follow Ben, tell them how they can find you and support you.
Go to aunetwork.com, click on the WANI logo. We do sports each and every morning just after 7 o'clock. We'd love to have you, including people like Charlie Five here, Kyle's with me, as well as we got Zach that's with us, Daryl Dapper, all the guys that you're used to seeing from time to time. Yes, a little different content than what they see with you. So we'll do something different so that way if they don't get enough of them with you, they can get some of it with me.
There you go. And we call this our bonus episodes. We always have a lot of fun. So like the video if you like it, like the channel, subscribe to the channel, and be alerted for videos and content like this.
Send the check.
There you go. Absolutely. And we'll be back again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast, bonus edition. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.